Walt Smith shared with me that he's not used to the spotlight, that he was taught to go through his career in a quiet and humble way. I picked up on that during our conversation for a story in the magazine, but quiet and humble doesn't negate one's drive and passion. And as you're about to learn, after an impactful conversation that Walt had at the 1991 Western Propane Trade Show, his drive quickly led to one of the most important pieces of equipment for the industry. Let's take a look.
Pumps are part of the Smith family's DNA. Walter Smith's grandfather, Reuben, started Smith Precision Products Company, known today as Smith Pumps, in 1938, and the company sold its first butane-propane pump a year later. Walter's father, Lawrence, joined the California company in 1945 to build on those original designs and continue Reuben's legacy. Reuben and Lawrence were innovative engineers responsible for many patents and products that forged Smith pumps. As a California kid growing up in the 1950s, Walter Smith remembers peering over the sofa and listening to his father's conversations. He had a yearning to understand them and to learn from Lawrence Smith, the smartest man I ever met, Walter says. Walter had an interest in new engineering and numbers. He developed a mantra, learn something new every day. That mantra served him well early on while working part-time at Smith Pumps and attending college in the 1970s. Walter felt that a college education and a mechanical engineering degree would provide the foundation he needed to become a third-generation contributor to the company, and eventually its leader. In 1991, his career took an unexpected turn during the Western Propane Trade Show and Convention in Palm Springs, California. While setting up the company's booth, Walter engaged in a discussion with an industry colleague about the problem of hoses twisting during propane delivery. The colleague saw a need for a UL-listed hose end swivel designed for propane, and he had asked Walter for a solution. That night in his hotel room, Walter sketched a crude design of such a swivel. Only days later, he was back in his office, on track to develop a prototype for testing. Walter calls the events in Palm Springs a perfect storm that led him to envision and ultimately design the first UL-listed hose end swivel for the propane industry. He did the same with a hose reel swivel. He founded Full Circle later that year. Its product allowed for a 360-degree rotation of the filler valve at the end of a delivery hose, and it became a standardized piece of equipment on bobtails in North America and in other markets around the world. Walter's ability to foresee the opportunities ahead with the swivel, to design and patent a series of products that would add safety, efficiency, and convenience to propane deliveries, became his most significant contribution to the industry, and the reason for his selection into the LP Gas Hall of Fame.
I'm really gobsmacked to be here with all of you right now. At the beginning of my career, I was mentored to go about my work in a very quiet way, a humble way, and to try, if I could, to stay out of the spotlight. 41 years later, here I am. Okay. But I'm grateful and I'm thank you to be in the company of Rita, Ken, and Tom, and the past inductees. I think they're astonishingly impressive. And I want to thank Brian Richardson and Brian Kanaba and their staffs and the sponsors for what they do in putting this whole program together tonight. I stand on the shoulders of my grandfather and my father, and some very talented staff, especially in the early days of Full Circle. Some close colleagues, friends, and of course my family. One of those close colleagues and his wife Kathy are here tonight. That's Mr. Bob Bailey. Bob approached me at a trade show, on the trade show floor, as our sales manager, John Ives, and I were setting up our display. And he was very persistent. He wanted a hose-end swivel specifically designed for LP gas, and the footnote to his wish list was that it had to be listed by the underwriters' laboratories for LP gas. At the time we had that discussion, John Ives was setting up a display of mechanical seal assemblies that go into our pumps. And just an important note about that mechanical seal assembly that I'll get to in a little while, that includes the pump mechanical seal that's built as an integral part of the pump drive shaft, and also includes one or two ball bearings. So obviously the drive shaft can rotate on those ball bearings. Bob asked me if I would walk outside and take a look at a typical bobtail delivery truck so he could show me the application. And as we were walking outside, John followed us, and he had one of those mechanical seal assemblies in his hand. At the end of that discussion outside, John said to Bob, "Here you go, Bob, here's your swivel." And he tossed him that mechanical seal. As it was in the air for maybe a millisecond, a bolt of lightning hit me like I have never experienced before. The heavens opened up, and for me it was just an aha moment. I saw the design, and there was significant clarity to it, something that any design engineer would absolutely die for. And I forget exactly the derogatory comment that Bob made to John as to his sarcastic joke, but they began laughing. But my brain was still traveling at Mach 10, and I wasn't laughing. And if not for Bob's persistence and the respect I had for him, if not for John's joke, the full circle design concept never would have occurred, and I would not be here right now. Unfortunately, John could not make the event tonight, but Bob is here. Bob is the one that planted the seed, and I feel that I really share this honor with both John and Bob. And Bob, would you stand and just be recognized? Thank you, my friend. In any event, after I got back in the office, the very first thing I did was to call the underwriters lab. So I spoke to an engineer that I knew there. I wanted to know if they had a published standard for LP gas swivels. I was a bit shocked when he said, yes, we do. He also told me, however, that no product submittal had passed one of their tests. And he went on to tell me that that was an endurance test whereby the swivel is pressurized to 350 psi, and it has to do 100,000 cycles. If there's any failure during that test, it fails. He went on to tell me that the best product submitted to them had accomplished only 33,000 cycles. So here's the challenge. Within 10 days, we had designed a prototype and we started the cycle test. Many weeks later, our plant manager came into my office, and he wanted to know if I wanted to continue with the cycle test. And I said, well, has there been a problem with the prototype? No problem. And I said, well, how many cycles are we up to? And he told me 5,200,000. And I about fell off my chair. Not necessarily because of the number of cycles, but for me, I knew we had something extremely special. And that was the green light for what was to come. And I have quite a few to thank along the way. I mean, the rest is history for Full Circle. But there are quite a few individuals that really helped me along my career path. But two in particular made a profound difference in me, and they both have passed. And this is a little emotional for me because I truly miss these guys. And I wish I could still converse with them. But one is Maurice Oxier of BT&T, and the other is Roger Hannay of Hannay Reels. And I love those guys a lot. I'm thankful to a very dedicated Full Circle staff, that, especially the staff in the beginning, that had to shift gears from pumps to this new swivel concept. They believed in me, they believed in the product, and my family as well, some of which are over there right now. They allowed me, growing up, to do what I do best. And guys, I think you're the best. I love you a lot. My wife, Vicki, my daughter, Tori, her husband, Zach, my son, CJ, and my nephew, Russell. Thank you, guys. Very grateful for you. But to end, I'm terribly honored to be here. I thank you for this honor. I'm grateful for this honor, and I thank you for this honor. Thank you very much.